I want to move into what we have planned for this afternoon. The first step to any process of change is reflection and being honest with yourself. As a member of the TAG board, I thank Jeff and Larry leadership for creating that committee, and importantly, sponsor change that we need in TAG and really all over, because this does impact the community as well. And so I want to just say thank you again. So our next speaker is a leader that knows a lot about change and challenging norms. He has spent his career breaking barriers and developing diverse leaders in large corporations. Ralph Della Vega is a founder and chairperson of Ralph Della Vega Group. He's a former vice president of AT&T Incorporation and CEO of Business Solution International. He's also overall had the responsibility of AT&T Wireless and business operation in Mexico and DirecTV in Latin America. During his career, he's held numerous of executive positions, including COO of Singular Wireless and the president of Bell South Latin America. He serves on the board of American Express and several other boards, New York Life Insurance Company, and he's also AmDoc Corporation, and he's a former chair of the Junior Achievement Worldwide and continues to serve on his board of directors. He's received numerous of awards recognizing his leadership, including induction into the U.S. Wireless Hall of Fame, the Atlanta Business Hall of Fame, and he's got a prestigious Global Innovation Award. Also from the School of University of Emory, he's got numerous awards. As you can see, his awards will keep adding up. So we're just only giving you a few of his awards. He's an exceptional leader. Larry Williams and Ralph are here now to discuss Ralph's experiences and how each of us can learn from him, but also put some of his approaches to good use when it comes to inclusion and innovation. Larry, Ralph, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. I'm Larry Williams. I'm the president and CEO of TAG, the Technology Association of Georgia. Delighted to be here and to have a chat with Ralph Della Vega. Ralph, welcome.
It's great to be here, Larry.
Ralph has spent his career breaking barriers and working on diverse and inclusive work environments through large corporations. And he has a stellar background, and I look forward to having this great conversation with him. This section, we're really going to explore successful technology leaders, current entrepreneurs, and what we need to get more Hispanic women and men into technology leadership. I know that my conversation with Ralph will go beyond just the Hispanic leadership to what leadership is throughout our community, but I'm really looking forward to this great conversation. Ralph, I'll just get this started. We've known each other for many years, and we've got some great stories that we can talk about. What I want to know is, while you've been on this journey, perhaps you can share a little bit about your career and your career focus with our audience.
Sure, Larry. It's first of all, it's a pleasure to be online with you and to be addressing, although virtually, the great audience in Atlanta. Atlanta has been our home for many years during my career with AT&T, and I have a lot of friends that I want to say hi to. So I do want to update you on what I've been doing since I left AT&T. I have formed my own investment group, the Della Vega Group, and we invest in companies that have a noble purpose, that solve a difficult problem, and do so using innovative technology. I've also been a fan of the Atlanta area and realized that we needed venture capital to be based in the Atlanta area. So in support of that, and because the Forte Ventures is such a group of people, I have joined Forte Ventures in Atlanta as a limited partner. And Forte Ventures is just launching its third fund, $150 million venture capital fund. And I'm really excited about what they're going to be able to do. So entrepreneurship and technology is something that I'm very passionate about, and I'm putting my investments behind it. Now, prior to my leaving AT&T, I was the vice chairman for AT&T and was the CEO of Business Solutions and International, and I was running AT&T's business operations in over 200 countries while living in Dallas. And then before that, I lived in Atlanta, and that's when I was the CEO of AT&T Mobility. And then prior to that, the COO of Singular Wireless. And we had a terrific team during the time that I lived in Atlanta. During the 10-year span from approximately 2004 to 2014, we had a team that just did some things that were simply amazing. During the 10-year time frame that I just quoted, our team in Atlanta delivered 50 billion in revenue growth, 23 billion in EBITDA growth, and we won the J.D. Power Award for the retail customer satisfaction 9 times in a row. It was that same team that helped Apple launch the iPhone with an exclusive multi-million-dollar contract that, in my view, changed the way we live, work, and play forever. The same team that became the connected car leader and built the Drive Studio in Atlanta, making Atlanta kind of the world capital of connected cars. And then finally, as we have talked about before, we were one of the first firms that invested in Tech Square. And we built the AT&T foundry in Tech Square. And after that, the whole place mushroomed. Georgia Tech did a wonderful job. Bud Peterson was a great friend and great supporter, along with Hala at the Chamber, yourself, and TAG, who all have come a great way since we started. So it's so great to be here with you and to be able to share some of the things that led to success and the importance of diversity and inclusion in today's very complex operating environment.
Ralph, that's a lot to be proud of. $50 million, that's $5 million a year for 10 years. And the teamwork, you've always put a big focus on the team. And so I especially admire how you've really integrated diversity and inclusion. You've been doing this as part of your core principles for a long time. So I want to talk a little bit about that. As you know, this event, Converge, our tagline is inclusion drives innovation. It's really talking about, the secret sauce, the leadership that it takes to make sure that this is all working. So could you talk a little bit about, share what you think about inclusion and how you have seen it apply in business, and specifically, what is the impact Hispanics are having on the economy?
Of course, Larry. Look, in my experience, domestically and internationally, I have found diversity to be good for business in addition to being the right thing to do. And I tell you, I would be paranoid if I was to go to market domestically or internationally with a team that did not reflect the communities that we intend to serve. To me, diversity and inclusion is not about counting heads, but making heads count. That is making sure that you have diverse leaders that can help you understand how to market and serve diverse communities. It's not just about counting heads, it's making sure that you have people who can lead you to understand the culture and the things that will make you successful in diverse communities. Now, when it comes to the Hispanic community, there's just some amazing factoids that I want to share with this audience, because it really highlights the importance of the community to our country, and the fact that I think the success of both are inextricably linked. The good thing is that the Hispanic community is growing. According to the latest Pew Research in 2018, it totaled 60 million people, the Hispanic community, which represents 18% of the population of the United States. One of the most interesting factoids, though, is the average age of that population, which is 29 years old. It is 60 million people with an average age of 29, which is expected to grow to 111 million by 2060, according to the Census Bureau. So you have a really great group of people, very young, that are growing fast. And the thing that is really amazing is the economic impact that community is having on our country. When you look at the gross domestic product, the GDP of that cohort of 60 million Hispanics or Latinos, their GDP in 2018 was $2.6 trillion. Now, 2.6 is hard to, kind of understand, so let me put it in proper context. If that was an independent country, those 60 million people, that would make the Latino cohort in the United States the 8th largest economy in the world, larger than the GDP in Italy, larger than the GDP in Brazil, larger than the GDP in South Korea. And among the 10 largest GDPs in the world, it would be the fastest growing GDP, growing 21% faster than the GDP of India and 30% faster than the GDP of China in 2018. So my excitement is that Hispanics are becoming an integrated part of the U.S. economic engine and are going to be the fuel, I think, that continues to make sure that the U.S. stays at the top of the economic development in the world. And so thank you for both of those questions. I'm very excited about talking more specifically about the role of Hispanics in entrepreneurship later on. But the statistics are simply amazing, and I wanted to share them with you.
Well, that really frames up the conversation well, Ralph. I mean, that's real money, that's real economic impact, and that's real force. And it really does put some flavor into the context of what the Hispanic market does for the United States. So inclusion is the result, really, of a lot of hard work. And it's a work environment in which individuals are treated fairly, treated respectfully, and really have equal access to the opportunities and resources to help them make them successful. So that's incredibly powerful. I've heard from you that for many organizations to create an inclusive environment, it really takes leadership. It starts at the top. I know that you've said that change requires courage as well as leadership. So really, let's talk about how can you share and what do you think about courage and leadership and how this applies to a company's culture and values and how you build that inclusive environment in a workplace?
Yeah, Larry, in my experience, in order to be creative and inclusive and to have a work environment that reflects those values, an organization has to absolutely have the right tone at the very top of the organization. By that, I mean that the leaders have to authentically believe in the power of diversity and create a culture where everyone's ideas are welcomed and used to drive the company strategy. I can give you many examples in my career where once I understood the value of diversity and used it appropriately, driving the company strategy, it led to those amazing growth figures. That was not the only reason, but it had a big part in us being able to grow market share, to grow the company, to help employees grow, and also to serve the communities that were so important to us throughout the world.
Ralph, you've had many assignments in your career. You go back Bell South, Singular, AT&T, and many of those roles have been global. So how have that influenced your thinking? How have you applied that?
Larry, it's experience is a wonderful thing, and I've been so lucky to have had so much experience in so many places. There was one experience, though, that dramatically changed the way I thought about business, the way I thought about diversity and inclusion, and the way that we needed to build leadership teams. And it happened while I was the president of Bell South Latin America. I was responsible for our operations, our wireless operations in 11 countries in Latin America. And our challenge was to tap the incredible opportunity of the wireless market in those countries in Latin America. And one of those countries was the country of Ecuador. And when I looked at their results in Ecuador, they just didn't seem like they were really driving the performance that we expected. So I spent some time in the country. I looked at the situation and realized that we were not really penetrating the youth segment. The youth segment in wireless is amazing. Young people have taken to wireless. It's just like drinking water. It comes natural. And in Ecuador, we were just not being very successful. We had a very homogeneous leadership team and that didn't have any young people in it. So we decided to create a segment that is the youth segment. In Ecuador, they actually called it the cool segment. And we defined it as being 25 years or younger. So we were going to try to attract those young people that were 25 or younger. We made a critical decision that I've really looked back upon, one of the best decisions I've ever made in my career, is we put a 22-year-old in charge of the youth segment in Ecuador. That is, we took somebody from the segment and put them in charge of the P&L, reporting to the CEO. We placed a 22-year-old young lady to lead the segment. She became the first that I know in that region to be reporting directly to the CEO, the first woman. It was that kind of an impact, and to boot, 22 years old. So she started changing everything that we did. I look fondly back in those days. She changed the distribution from retail stores to shopping centers. She changed the colors of the packaging to make them brighter and more attractive to young people. She even promoted the products with an old girls band that I thought, I'm not sure that's going to work. And then I looked at her advertising plan, and it was so radical, Larry, that I told her, look, I really don't like this. And I still remember what she said to me. She said, sir, you are not the target audience. And she was so right. I was not. It was the target audience was 25 and younger. And we took a great risk in letting her proceed with that plan. But what started happening after that plan was implemented, our sales skyrocketed. Our text messages per capita went to second in the world in Ecuador, only second to the Philippines. It went from nowhere to second in the world extremely fast. I was so concerned that I called the audit team and I said, please audit these numbers because I can't believe them. They audited the numbers and said, the numbers are right, sir. And so she completely transformed the business. She transformed it because we put somebody from the segment with a diverse point of view, in this case, a youthful point of view. And it was just a great learning. The other part of this learning, Larry, just for you and I, is that if you're older than 25 and you think you're cool, you're not. And that was just a fun thing to do, but it's wonderful to see diversity in action. And that changed my thinking about business forever, because ever since then, I've tried to make sure that our leadership teams carried that value of having people in your company that understand the segments that you're trying to market to is absolutely critical. And so many companies have missed this, that's what led to our success, not only domestically, but also internationally.
Isn't that such a great story and a great learning? You know, really applaud you for the faith and confidence that you put in this young woman, and also that really emboldened her to have the courage to make that statement to you and saying, okay, here's the reality, and this is what you asked me to do. So that's a great story. You know, Latin America is always interesting, but like the United States, it's not homogeneous. It's very, very diverse, both in language with Portuguese in Brazil, Spanish, and most of the rest of it. So how did you take those learnings and apply those to different markets throughout your career and as you've been growing these great businesses?
Yeah, Larry, you're exactly correct. And sometimes people look at the Hispanic market as a monolith, and it's everything but that. And so you really have to understand how you market to different people. So when I came back and took on a domestic assignment after running Bell South Latin America, I came back and became the Chief Operating Officer of Singular Wireless in Atlanta, which was an amazing assignment for me. I've always fondly looked back at not only the business people, but the people in Atlanta that helped me and my family, get used to working and living in the South, if you will. And it was just something that, if you ask my wife, it's one of the best places we've ever lived. And we moved around 14 different times with AT&T and its predecessor companies. But back to your question, when I returned to the domestic market as the COO and then the CEO of AT&T Mobility, we took the learnings from the youth market in Ecuador to serve the Hispanic, the African American, and the Asian market in the US. And we began by taking the Hispanic market and looking at how we were performing. First of all, we were not investing in stores in Hispanic communities like we should have. So we immediately started building high-tech stores in Hispanic communities and staffing them with bilingual personnel and putting bilingual collateral. It was such a great success that I still have in my glass case outside the key to the city that was given to me by the mayor of Huntington Park right outside of Los Angeles, because we had shown the rest of industry that it was okay to invest in that community. Wow. And the store became one of the best selling stores in the country, where there was not a store before. Now, the interesting thing about having people from the segment lead the segment is I put it in place Hispanic to lead the Hispanic marketing efforts. And he came up with an idea that it didn't occur to me just because I wasn't focusing on it, but he did something amazing. While my competitors who are investing in the National Football League and Major League Baseball, which are great sponsorships, but super expensive, he instead said to market to the Hispanic community, we need to invest in the Mexican national soccer team as a sponsorship. And I go, are you crazy? He said, no, I think people, especially in California and the Southwest, are going to like it. Well, we signed the Mexican national soccer team. And all we simply did is then take some of their players and put them to sign T-shirts in our stores. And Larry, we had crowds of 200 people in the stores. It was so successful, we actually had to stop because the shopping centers would not allow us to do it anymore because it was so popular. And so we really knew that we struck a chord in a community that was underserved. In any way, that led us to grow our business in the Hispanic market. And eventually we became the #1 market share for wireless postpaid service in the United States, #1 market share in the Hispanic market. So diversity works. But then we said to ourselves, okay, if we did this in the Hispanic market, why can't we do this in the African American market and the Asian market? So we did the same thing, put people in place that could help us understand those communities. We built state-of-the-art stores in Harlem. We built them in Chinatown, in San Francisco, in New York, everywhere. And as a result, years later, we became #1 market share in the African American market for postpaid wireless service and #1 for postpaid wireless service in the Asian market. So #1 share in the Hispanic market, #1 share in the African American market, #1 in the Asian market. And you asked me, how did we grow that business 50 billion over 10 years? I would say that had something to do with it. And so diversity is not just the right thing to do for business. It is the right thing to do for everything. And what I learned in Latin America completely changed how I led people, and it led nothing but to success.
Those are great stories, and it just really puts a spotlight on your leadership style, because once again, that was a result of you listening. You listening to people, them making their case, and you getting behind them and supporting them. And what a great success. You and I have had, we both had experience in Miami. Yours is a lot different, all the way up from your childhood that you outline in your book. So it's a great story. But there's some great other entrepreneurs. Manny Medina, that's really built a tech empire there. Mike Fernandez in healthcare, really grown up. And again, been a titan. All of these are entrepreneurs. What is your perspective about the future of entrepreneurism with Hispanics? Everything that they're going to need to be successful, the bright ideas, the hard work, and even access to capital.
Well, first of all, Manny and Mike are good friends and great entrepreneurs. In fact, I still have Mike's book on my desktop as a reminder of the great friendship and the great wisdom that he has shared with us in that book.
And the Boy Scouts, y'all share a shared commitment to the Boy Scouts.
We finally got him to join the Boy Scouts, and he is just a terrific person. You cannot be any better than to hope to be like Mike one day. He is just that good a person. But I myself was raised, my foster parents were entrepreneurs. I was raised by entrepreneurs, and I always felt like I was an entrepreneur inside a big company, and that's what led to doing the amazing deals we did and the amazing technological involvement that we had in the tech community. But I did want to highlight, we talked about Hispanics earlier, and you mentioned two of the great ones, Manny and Mike. But when people have looked at the rate of entrepreneurship, Hispanics have the highest rate of entrepreneurship, and that was between the time frame of 1996 to 2015. During that 10-year period when people have looked at it, Hispanics they're great entrepreneurs, and they also love technology, by the way. 94% of Hispanics use an app or a web application or the web in a smartphone versus 83% for all users. So we're entrepreneurs, we're tech savvy, and Latinos are creating 1 million new businesses, 1 million new ones every 5 years. And from 2007 to 2015, 50% of new Latino businesses came from Latinas, female Hispanic entrepreneurs, 50%. This is just amazing. And in addition to that, remember I mentioned that the average age of the 60 million cohort was 29 years. 40% of Latino business owners are millennials. So it is just the perfect cohort, if you will, to take up the challenge that TAG and others have put before us is how can we grow this community? You've got a great source. Now we've got to figure out how to help them. Just like we talked about diversity, and in many cases, you've got to have people's back to let them feel free to take risks, knowing that they will be somewhat protected and respected. So I think Hispanics and entrepreneurship, they almost like go together in my point of view. And I'm so pleased that you mentioned two of the greatest and two good friends of mine, Manny and Mike.
I know y'all are good friends, and it's really a testament to the hard work that a lot of people have put into things, and again, a lot of great ideas. Though that Mike's always shared that he's learned nothing from his successes and everything from his failures, and it's just a great perspective. But let's comment on the development of a diverse workforce. There are amazing examples out there, and it's everything from how you power retail, how you market, but also developing the next generation of leadership at the executive level as well. So as you were building these great businesses, how did you change the way that the company recruited and that they identified and developed talent and develop it from a diverse perspective?
Yeah, Larry, that's a great question. First of all, let me address how we developed the front line. I call the front line the heart of any company. Those are the employees that face the customer every day. And I've always felt like we needed to listen to them, to put them in the right spot in order for us to win in the marketplace. When we looked at wanting to provide great service, we actually changed how we recruited for the front line in our retail stores. Instead of just focusing on somebody who could sell, we focused on people who could sell and service. And service was really important. So that is what led us to winning the J.D. Power Customer Purchase Experience Award 9 times in a row. Is because we had great people in the front line. That did not happen by accident. Our team, our retail team, was just wonderful. Great job done by just a number of people to get the right folks, to train them properly, to incent them properly, and the result was magic. The same thing goes for leadership. I can't think anything more important than for a leader to develop a pipeline of diverse talent to be able to lead the company into the future. We developed that leadership at Singular Wireless by purposely building small, medium, and large markets, and we had general managers that were placed in those markets. Some of the younger candidates, some of the more diverse candidates, we placed in a variety of markets where they could grow from the small to medium to large. I think it was important to make sure you didn't take a huge chance on a market like New York, but you could take a chance with a smaller market, say like Phoenix. And in fact, the current CEO of AT&T Communications is one of those people that we placed in Phoenix and now is running all of AT&T Communications. And it's really just a great way when you look back of leaving a legacy of young, diverse people who can lead the company to the next level. And Larry, when I look back over my career, I'm proud to say that 23 of my former colleagues and direct reports are now or have been CEOs of their own company. 23. So it says that we did something right in developing those people. And by the way, 50% of those 23 are Hispanics, African Americans, Asians, or women. So it really highlights you can develop the pipeline. You can get diverse leaders in place, but you have to work at it, just like you have to work at everything else you do in business.
Well, you've been tireless in that pursuit and really sticking to that principle that it can be done, it will be done, and you've demonstrated the leadership and got it done. And I think that says that really sets a standard for those leaders that come behind you. And some of those great leaders you're referring to, I know a few of them, and they are great leaders. So I applaud you. I got a couple questions left in the time that we have together. One, I wanted to talk to you about an initiative that you served as the chair of and provided great leadership here in Georgia and Atlanta to really think about mobile technology. You know, at the time when everything was developing, you mentioned the great work with the iPhone, how you really led the charge for that to go to market and really how it became the dominant. And we really talked about the convergence of mobility on these little, what was becoming computers we were all running around with in our pockets. Now, of course, that mobility is now, it evolved to become, known as IoT, and now we talk about it as smart cities and smart communities. So it's evolved a long way. Go back and let's talk about the beginnings of that initiative here in Atlanta and a lot of the success, and it really helped you pivot a lot of some of the investments and charge for innovation for AT&T Mobility at the time.
Yeah, look, I'm so proud to have served with so many talented people and leaders in Atlanta, because when you look back at the things that we did when we did them, they were breakthrough events. The investments we made early on to place the AT&T Foundry right in the first floor of Tech Square, right underneath the incubator, was just wonderful, and we could not have made that happen without the effort of Bud Peterson, the president of Georgia Tech at the time. And I've been a great supporter of Georgia Tech. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and that led then to the formation of the AT&T Connected Car Group, and we built the AT&T Drive Studio, the first one of its kind in the world, right adjacent to Tech Square. And so it was that group, Larry, that resulted in AT&T connecting just about every new car that was made since in the U.S., connected by a great AT&T Internet of Things team that we put together, and all goes back to that initial investment we did with Georgia Tech.
Well, I'll mention two. One, I remember being in Barcelona at the Mobile World Congress whenever you had some of the titans of the car industry there, and you kicked off that connected car initiative. It was proud. But also the MOOCs and the $2 million investment that AT&T made. Just comment on those real quick, because it is such a value of how open access to education is.
Yeah, look, when we had that great relationship with Bud Peterson, I brought down Randall Stevenson, our CEO and chairman at the time, and we talked about how we could change things to educate young people and people in general. And we got so excited about working with Zvi Gali, who was the head of the engineering and computer science school at the time, to develop the first MOOC course that would provide a graduate degree in computer science, a master's of computer science degree at Georgia Tech, and it would cost only $7,000 to do so, a complete master's degree. And we took a chance. I remember having lunch in Dallas with Zvi and Randall handing him the $2 million check, and me telling him, make sure you keep that in a safe place now. Don't leave it laying around. But they did a great job, and I believe now they have over 10,000 graduates that have gone through that course. Just an amazing world first from my point of view, and a tribute of the great partnership that we have with Georgia Tech.
That's a great story and great initiative, and I was pleased to be a part of that with you. Ralph, what's next for you? You know, what's keeping you motivated? I know you're always going to be active and involved. So tell us what you're up to now and what's really what's fulfilling your passions.
So I'm very passionate about helping young people, especially in the area of entrepreneurship. So I'm working with Junior Achievement Worldwide. It's an organization that I chaired for 4 years. Their focus is to teach kids about entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and work readiness, employability, if you will. We serve over 10 million kids every year in over 100 countries. And JA Worldwide has been named the 7th best NGO in the world, which I'm very proud of. And so I just created the De La Vega Global Entrepreneurship Award that is to provide scholarships to young people around the world. We've divided the world into 6 regions, you know, the US, the Americas, the European Union, Asia, Middle East, and Africa. And each of those regions is putting together what we call a small group of students that put together their own company. They have to build the company plan, they have to market it, they have to decide who's going to be the CEO, the CMO, the CFO. So kids at an age of about 14 are learning how to be entrepreneurs running their own company. And this award is going to go to the region that wins the Company of the Year competition. In Europe alone, there were 34 entries from 34 different countries last year. And the winner was a group of 10 young women who won the Company of the Year award from Turkey. Amazing. It's amazing, Larry, to see the enthusiasm for this next generation. So I'm very encouraged by the next generation. And I'm doing my part in helping them and, in a way, paying it forward.
That's a great story, and it's going to go back to what I said. Your faith and confidence in the next generation and the way that your leadership style has gotten behind them to support them to be successful, and that young woman team that came out of Turkey. Congratulations. Hey, I know that you've also got some venture capital. A lot of what our entrepreneurs need is access to capital and great mentorship. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll wrap up.
Sure. Look, like I said at the beginning, I invest in companies that have a noble purpose. And one in particular I'm very proud of. It's called Rapid SOS. You probably never heard about them. But this is a young company that was started by 2 entrepreneurs, one from Harvard, one from MIT. And what they have done is they have made life a lot safer for all of us on this call, because they have improved their response to 911 calls. 911 was a system that was set up in the 60s. It was voice-centric, and when a phone doesn't have GPS to locate you when you make a call to 911. The technology currently in use uses a triangulation concept, which is not accurate and takes a little bit longer. What these folks have found a way to do is to put data in play. And now instead of you calling 911 only with voice, data follows the call, telling the operator exactly where you're located. They can tell you whether you're on the first floor or the 40th floor of a high rise, or in the second floor of your house or in the front of your house, so that when you call for help, we can get help there faster and more accurately than ever before. And Larry, we have documented that it's saving thousands and thousands of lives. Every phone in the US, every new phone has it. We've worked a deal with Apple and Google, so all Android phones and all Apple phones have it. And over 90% of the 911 centers are using it. The company provides the service free of charge to 911 centers, but then charges Apple a little bit of money and Google a little bit of money, and companies that use the technology like Uber and SiriusXM to better locate their drivers and customers. And that's how the service is funded. But it's a great technological event in terms of making this available. And I'm proud to say that the US is probably the best country in the world now when it comes to locating you when you have an emergency accurately and with the least amount of time. In those cases, every second counts when you're saving a life. So that's one I'm very proud, and it's a great example of looking for small companies, entrepreneurs that I can help to scale and to become sustainable companies long into the future.
That's a great story, and that is a great company with a noble purpose. Ralph de la Vega, thank you so much for spending some time with us to talk about your leadership style, to talk about your leadership in diversity and inclusion, your principles around equality, making sure that you've really done a great job in preparing the next generation of leadership, giving them opportunities, and really thinking about what the future of America is going to look like, especially with this great explosion of great Hispanic and Latino businesses. Ralph, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and say hello to all my friends in Atlanta.
I will. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.